In this short video, I'm going to be talking about what I hope I have achieved in the making of the past 4 films. Unexpected. The first short film focused on film language. Our idea was to depict someone come home excited to cook a tasty meal from scratch, but instead the meal turns into a complete mess and ends up having to order Domino's pizza, subverting the audience expectations. My role in this short film was as a producer. For research, I looked at what producers normally do for short films for this scale. For this role, I had to do research into where to get the cheapest food and where we could get large quantities of it, for retakes and different attempts. For inspiration for the idea, we looked at the vlogger Sam Calder and his intro to the video, We Be Rolling In. We really liked the slow motion and the extreme close-ups of him preparing food. We also got inspired by cutting of carrots and onions from the film Garden of Words, an animated film showing great close-ups of food, giving us helpful ideas for shot composition and film language. Last part of the inspiration is the editing of The World's End, how it was edited in such a dramatic way with the pub scene, but then had a funny and unexpected payoff. We thought this would fit really well with our Domino's idea, as we were doing such a dramatic cooking scene. My role as the producer made the whole crew very prepared, ensuring that everything was in place for the time of filming, getting the food together, with also preparing the shot list so we didn't run off track. I thought what was really good was the pacing of the short film. Keeping it fast paced meant the audience didn't get bored. What I felt really complemented this was the visuals. Having great shots, we were able to make the cooking look amazing and really dramatic. I think what didn't go so well was not having an establishing shot and not actually establishing the space. This meant when the character began cooking, the audience wasn't really aware of the space. I feel we could also improve on lighting. Relying on indoor lighting led to downsides and looked unprofessional. For film language, we focused a lot on the visual storytelling, as ours had no dialogue. We wanted to have hero shots of different ingredients with the food being made. For example, getting a low angle hero shot of the oil, and the reveal of the pizza doing a similar push in hero shot for that of Django Unchained, helping it convey to the audience that pizza is the hero of the day. We also created moody lighting for when his meal failed, putting him in a dark place. We did this by having all the lighting off and having him backlit by the window. This really put the audience in his headspace. For health and safety, we took extra care making sure the actor didn't burn or cut himself. The promise. The idea being a cult video promising you of a better life. My role was the director. For research, I looked at the video which originally gave us inspiration. A comedy video which was spoofing on old cult videos of the 1970s. We looked at how to make the vintage style of the film with also adding crackling voice. We also then gave it an orange tint of the 1970s films, while also having jumps to make the seem that the recording was bad. For this short film we had to focus on mise-en-scène, so I thought the best thing to do was look at one of the masters of small detail, Stanley Kubrick. We looked at his last film, Eyes Wide Shut, which we thought would be a good idea to have the final shot on with people dressed in masks of the film. We then also took influence from A Clockwork Orange, looking at the opening shot and narration. We thought the narration throughout the film added a real creepiness to the tone, and we also really wanted to have the last shot push out like it did in the beginning of Clockwork Orange. My role on the film as a director I think went really well, making sure to put everyone in the right position working on the project, but also helping to get all the props together for the film. I had worked with the actor before, so I knew how to give him direction to get the best possible performance out of him. I feel that he really gave a good performance and looked great for the part. I really wanted to focus on lighting, as for the last project we didn't have any lighting equipment booked out. The location is something we can improve on. We filmed at Scape when I wanted a completely dark room. This was due to the fact we had problems booking out the room, as we were inexperienced in what to do. I feel like this will get improved on time and when we get more suited to the booking system. For film language, use a mixture of different film techniques to convey the creepy feeling in the advert, using low angle shots looking up at the cult leader and thus creating the feeling that he's looking down on the world. For lighting, we took influence from Apocalypse Now, where his lighting is half and half from Marlon Brando. We wanted to show that the cult leader wants to show his light side, but underneath he is really a dark side. For the creepy slow zoom in, we wanted to unnerve the audience. Mike Thinks describes this greatly in his book Digital Filmmaking. At that point I want to add a movement, but I probably wouldn't want to actually move the camera. I probably wanted to creep in on a zoom very slowly. The audience isn't aware of it, just enough that the movement registers subconsciously. For health and safety, there was a lot more factors that came into play as we were filming Escape with lighting this time. For lighting, we had to make sure that there were no hanging wires down and that we were not in the way of tripping anyone up. Broken. For this short film, I took the role as the editor, and our idea was someone playing the guitar intercut with things that have broken him in the past week. This short film had to be led by sound. For research, I looked at the editing techniques of the film City of God, liking how they cut back and forth between the chicken and the knife at the beginning of the film. They also cut a lot on sound, which gave me the idea to cut on the beat of the song. We also really liked the panning around shot with it changing time, going back to the 1960s. This is something we wanted to copy over, showing him that he's losing his headspace and what's going on. I feel this went really well with me using the warp stage light and rescaling the image so that it matched on the cut. Inside Llewyn Davis was our final inspiration. I really liked how the sounds of the guitar when he was tuning up and getting ready to perform. I thought this would be a great opener for our film and include some crisp sound effects. My role on this film was the editor. I worked with the director on what he wanted from the project, with advising him on how it's best to do that and working on solutions, such as trying to match the guitar with this song audio. I think what really went well was the timing of the cuts between indoor playing and outside, and through the performance and cuts you could tell he was looking back at what happened. This combined with the sound effects worked out really well, really heightening the film's production value. Finally, the music choice was great, with slowly starting and then getting ramped up. This meant I could increase the editing pace of the short film as it went on, making it more and more emotionally charged, finally climaxing with the broken string. I think what didn't go so well was again the indoor lighting, and leaving it with an orangey tint to the finished film. This is something that we couldn't really help though, as we were filming the next day from planning it. For film language, we used a lot of visual and audio techniques to convey the thoughts and feelings of the audience. For the visual side, we wanted to have lots of close-ups for the guitar parts as to show what the characters focused on, with also having their outside location in dark and gloomy places. We also wanted the shots of his life falling apart on a handheld and shaky, to show that his life is out of his hands and he doesn't have control right now. This contrasts with the gimbal shots of him playing the guitar as he's taking back his life when playing his heart out. For diegetic audio, we only wanted to hear stuff when it went wrong to really emphasise that. For example, the mug smash, guitar break, and missing the tube. Inverted. Our last short film had to be centred around post-production, and we got given the title Inverted. My idea was to have someone playing on the keyboard and begin to make music, cutting to him walking around London, having lots of effects around him and everything being inverted. My role on this film was cinematographer and editor with Chris. I researched into how to do editing effects beforehand, making sure that they were easy to do and knowing what to do whilst filming. For inspiration, we looked at the editing of A$AP Rocky's LSD music video, having psychedelic effects and pacing. I wanted to have bright lights featured in our short film so that we could do a glow effect which is heavily featured in the LSD music video. This is quite an easy effect to pull off and looks great with the music chosen, having a really slow dramatic feel. I really admired the speed ramping and visible cuts to black for the transitions in the music video. I feel like this is a great idea to cut into our short film. I thought this was a great idea keeping our time short due to the 1 minute maximum time. The last piece of inspiration was the credits from Enter the Void. One of the complaints I got last time was that the credit font was too basic, so I wanted to go in a completely other direction, have the fonts be crazy with colours. I really like how every different credit in Enter the Void had a different font, and then this also links back to our film where all the neon lights reflect the credits. My role on the film was as cinematographer and editor. I wanted to shoot at night time so we could easily use the bright lights. That way in editing we could use the effects in the best possible way and have the glow effects stand out more. We shot in Soho High Street and also in a 24-hour arcade which was also located in Soho. I was shooting on a Canon 700D with an 18 to 55mm lens with also a 50mm lens. For the tracking shots, I used a £50 stabiliser. I think what really went well was the choice of location really complemented the shot choice. Having bright neon lights around the character meant we could do great tracking shots with interesting backgrounds. This also really complementing the editing effects in post, which is something that we really wanted to pull off, having that dream psychedelic effect which is heavily featured in A$AP Rocky's LSD music video. This combined with great variety of transitions was the best part of the editing side. For things to improve, I felt like we could maybe improve one of the transitions, namely the photograph to the street, as it maybe looked the cheapest out of all of them and also the hardest to pull off. For this short film, we wanted to convey film language through the editing styles and cuts. An example of this would be when everything gets really jumpy. This is showing how everything is out of place. Another use of film language would be where it zooms out of the character's eye at the end of the short film. This is a great visual showing of what the character has been thinking about whilst making his music. For health and safety, we were very careful as we were filming around London, and we wanted to be careful of our surroundings. In conclusion, I have learnt over this process a great lot, and I've also got a great taste of all the different positions.